Well, thank you so much, Renee, and thank you to all of you for joining us. And as you can see from the chat, we have thousands of leaders from across the country, small business owners, leaders, ecosystem leaders, Chamber of Commerce executives joining us for this important series. As many of you know, we started a series last year with the U.S. Small Business Administration to really make sure that small businesses, as we were working to build back better from COVID-19, had the tools and resources they needed to grow and to really thrive. And then after the success of last year's series, we launched a new series really focused on making sure that small business owners were able to take steps and learn about existing programs that were available at the U.S. Small Business Administration, as well as get updates on recent programs and policy announcements. Today, we're going to hear a little bit about the bipartisan infrastructure law and what it means for your business. We'll hear more about the American Rescue Plan, which we know was critical to pulling us out of the economic challenges that we are having. And we'll also hear more about the administration's work on the Made America initiative. And then lastly, we'll cover a lot of important, timely issues. We are so thrilled today to be joined by so many amazing speakers from across the administration. We're going to hear from small business owners and private sector leader experts. So we have a lot to cover in an hour, so we'll go ahead and get started. But it's my immense pleasure to go ahead and begin this conversation with someone who is no stranger to many of you who have been joining these ongoing sessions, but is Bharat, who has been Deputy Director at the National Economic Council. Bharat started with the Biden administration on the transition team, where he led an amazing, impressive set of work where he was gathering early insights from small business owners and leaders to make sure that when the Biden administration took over, that your voice was part of that process. And he's continued to lead a lot of that work at the National Economic Council. So we're so thrilled to have him here with us today to give us some updates and to hear about a recent report that was released from the administration. So with that, Bharat, thank you for all you do. And it's my pleasure to turn the conversation over to you.
Thanks a lot, Rhett. Good to join you all again and to talk to small business owners across the country. As Rhett noted, I was with the administration on the very first day, and it's important to think back to where things were when we took over. Obviously, 2020 had been an extraordinarily hard year for small businesses and small business owners across the country. And when we took office, there were still a lot of small businesses struggling. What the administration did from the very beginning was, number one, make sure that our existing small business programs were being implemented better, more fairly, made sure that people got money more quickly if they were entitled to it, and change some of the rules so that folks who may not have gotten relief in 2020 for a variety of reasons were able to get that relief in 2021. The second thing we did was pass the American Rescue Plan in March of last year. That plan not only provided support to families across the country in the form of tax cuts, in the form of stimulus checks and so on, but it had a variety of small business relief programs that really helped stabilize different sectors. We had a restaurant relief program that sent out more than $28 billion worth of grants to restaurants that were on the verge of closing. We had a shuttered venues program that provided relief to companies, live music venues and museums and libraries and so on. And we had what's called the State Small Business Credit Initiative program, which is run through the states, but provides $10 billion worth of working capital, growth capital for small businesses that are looking not only to make it through this the pandemic, but to expand. As Rhett noted, we put out a report recently that looks back at these efforts. And what we find is that there has been an incredible amount of progress since we took over. In fact, if you look at the data, 2021 was the single best year for new small businesses in the history of this country. Applications to start new businesses were up 20% in 2021 compared to any other year on record. It was the single best year for small business job growth in the history of this country. There were more than 1.5 million new jobs created in 2021 alone from small businesses. That said, we recognize that there's more work to do. And so what that report did was also include a four-part plan for building on the success that we've had. Number one, we want to make sure that companies, small businesses that are looking to grow have access to both loans and grants to do that. And so the SBA, and Mark will talk a little bit about that, those efforts, but a variety of programs at the federal level are going to be providing grants to small businesses to expand. And number two, we want to make sure that small business owners know how to get access to the relief that they're entitled to. And that's going to be things like the Community Navigator program that Mark and others at SBA have been working on. A third and very big thing we want to work on is making sure that small businesses get their fair share of all the federal contracting dollars that go out the door. $600 billion in federal contracts annually. And there's going to be even more than that over the next few years because of the infrastructure plan that the president signed into law late last year. In fact, the Department of Transportation alone is aiming to do $37 billion worth of new contracts specifically through small businesses. So you can visit the Department of Transportation website to learn more about that. So we think that we've made an incredible amount of progress coming out of the pandemic, and that small businesses have not only recovered in many places, but are growing stronger, and are looking for opportunities to expand. And what we are trying to do in the Biden-Harris administration is provide each and every opportunity that we can to give small business owners that opportunity to expand, to get access to credit, to find well-trained, highly qualified employees, and to take on some of the challenges that they're dealing with rising prices. So thank you again for having me here today. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Rhett.
Well, thank you, Bharat, and thank you for the update. And what we'll do is, Bharat mentioned a number of resources. We're going to cover some of those in the webinar today, but we'll also make sure to include a link to the report for those of you who signed up today. And I know we have several folks who are still joining the room. With that, it is my pleasure to now kick over this conversation to someone who I am so pleased to be able to call a friend. Mark Madrid, who is the Associate Administrator for the Office of Entrepreneurial Development at the U.S. Small Business Administration, was also someone who was early in the administration, was showing up at the U.S. Small Business Administration in the early days, making sure that small businesses were well represented. He has a storied career, both of running a Chamber of Commerce in Texas, as well as leading the Latino Business Association Network at Stanford, and has been a fierce advocate for making sure that small business and entrepreneurs are able to work and partner with their government. And so today, Mark will serve as our host. We're going to hear about the important work that he's doing in his office. We're going to hear about important work that he's doing in collaboration with the contracting office. And so we'll hear from Bibi Hidalgo. And we're so thrilled to be able to partner with Mark today. So with that, Mark, it is my pleasure to kick the line over to you.
Thank you, Rhett. Thank you, team. Welcome, everyone, today. We're excited to have you. Thanks for your precious time on whatever today is. Is it a Wednesday? You know where I'm coming from. But we are here to talk about how we can serve you. It is the highest honor imaginable. I say it every day, to serve small businesses throughout the country, Puerto Rico, and U.S. territories. So today, I have the opportunity and the honor, and I'm energized by it, to have a series of one-on-one discussions to talk about these resources for you today. And a special thank you to all the service providers out there. I saw the chat. You're coming from all over the country. Thank you for being here with us. Also, a special shout out to our resource partners, our small business development centers, women's business centers, SCORE chapters, our veteran business outreach centers, and of course, our community navigators that are there. So just to give you a little look ahead so that you can structure your time with us most appropriately, is we're going to start a conversation with my dear friend, Bibi Hidalgo, talking about government contracting. You're going to hear a special introduction here momentarily. And then we're going to head into a conversation about digital resources through PayPal. I'll be having a discussion with another friend of mine from many years, Mr. Paul from PayPal. And then we are going to transition to a program that we are honored to host here out of the Office of Entrepreneurial Development, our Thrive program. It's our Emerging Leaders Reimagined. So with that said, I'll hold now for a special introduction for someone who does not need an introduction, Ms. Bibi Hidalgo.
Hi.
Bibi, hi, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mark, and thank you very much, Rhett, for hosting us today, and Renee. It's always such a pleasure to come on with the PPSI team, and Bharat, our fearless leader in the White House. So it's a great group of people, and Mark, it's always such a joy to spend this kind of time with you to talk about these important issues that we're working on here at SBA.
You're very modest, Bibi. you serve as our Associate Administrator for Government Contracting and Business Development, somebody who was on the transition team here working on this very important issue of government contracting and building equity. And for everyone in the audience, Bibi and I are no strangers, as we were both in Las Vegas yesterday at the largest Native American Economic Development Conference, serving small businesses in Indian country. So Bibi, it's like, I wish I could say that we hadn't spent much time together, but that would not be actually the actual truth. And I'm lucky that we have, frankly, all the conversations that we've had. So Bibi, one of the charges that we have from our great boss, our remarkable boss, Administrator Isabella Casillas Guzman, is to be customer first, to be technology forward, and to advance equity. And you specifically and your wonderful team, shout out to the GCBD team, Government Contracting and Business Development team at the SBA. You certainly have a large hand in advancing equity. Could you share more about those efforts specifically related to the area that you run here at the SBA?
Sure, absolutely. This is really a key issue from day one. As you know, President Biden signed an executive order on racial equity in underserved communities. And that has been our guidepost for figuring out how we're going to really ensure that businesses across the United States can take advantage of the incredible amount of procurement opportunities that we have here in the administration. The US government is the largest purchaser in the globe. We contract about $560 billion a year. So in addition to that, we do have the bipartisan infrastructure law, which is a huge landmark legislation passed by the president. Most of that is contracting that'll be done through the states because it's a formula grants to the states. But apart from that, we have our significant federal budget that doesn't change pretty much from year to year, just small changes. So that's 500 to 560 billion per year. That's almost like the equivalent of a bipartisan infrastructure law every other year. And so that gives you a sense of just the enormity of our procurement budget. And then within that, we have the 5 congressional goals. So there's the small business goal of 23%, and then there are these 4 socioeconomic goals. So when we're talking about equity, we want to make sure we really home in on those 4 socioeconomic goals. And within that is the small disadvantaged business goal. And the president has made an unprecedented commitment to get the United States government to 15% small disadvantaged business contracting by 2026. So each year we're setting out to increase it by 1% each year. And so in my office has a whole of government approach within the federal government, where we track how all 24 agencies are performing in order to meet the goals, the SDB goal and the women-owned business goal, service disabled veteran, hub zone, as well as the overall small business. So we had the opportunity to negotiate with all 24 agencies, defense, transportation, Homeland Security, NASA, to figure out how we're going to get to that 11%, because this is such an important priority of the president. And within SDB, we have the 8A program, which is under my portfolio here at SBA. It's our flagship program. Came out of the civil rights movement. Really important program for uplifting minority-owned businesses across the United States. And so that Black, Latino, Asian American, tribally owned businesses really benefit enormously from the 8A program, which allows contract officers to do sole source awards directly with an 8A certified firm. So that's one of the things we want to make sure is we're really building back right now the 8A program to where it was, the historic levels that it was under President Obama. President Biden has such a strong commitment to it and wants to make sure that we get back to those levels. And we're encouraging people to go to sba.gov to find out about getting certified. And it is, there's a lot to the process, and for good reason, because of the the ability to sole source with firms. So I first encourage firms to get self-certified as a small disadvantaged business, and then to look into the 8A process by working with my team here at SBA, by working with our district offices across the country. We have 68 district offices, and our resource partners. Go to your local PTAC, for example, or SBDC, to find out about 8A certification. As you know, overseeing the SBDC program, it's so critical for connecting our firms to find out more about these type of resources, and in particularly getting certified. So within that, we're also just very focused on the broad policies that are going to make sure we create access on an unprecedented level. And I know those are some of the things, Mark, you were telling me yesterday that you're excited to hear about, some of the policy changes that we made this year. So if you'd like, I can say a little bit more about that, or if you want me to go to anyone in particular. But we basically instituted 5 major policy changes, working in close collaboration with the White House, with OMB, and with our partner agencies. And the way that we have looked at this issue since I served under President Obama, and I staffed Valerie Jarrett at the time. And we had a government-wide effort to meet the 23% goal. And one of the things we realized is technical assistance is critical, but what we can do in the federal government is focus a lot as well on the demand side. So the technical assistance is support on the supply side, but we have the levers within government to really calibrate demand. And what I mean by that is making sure that our incentives are aligned with our statute, with our regulations, that our contract officers have the incentive to go out of their way and meet and connect and build relationships with new firms, with disadvantaged firms, minority-owned businesses that have never perhaps had a chance to have the United States government as their direct client. And so that's where we put a lot of emphasis right out of the gate under President Biden, and it initiated several historic reforms that we rolled out on December 2nd. One was we disaggregated the data on contracting for the first time in US history by race and ethnicity. So you can see on SBA.gov the breakdown of contracts going to minority-owned businesses. Black-owned, Hispanic, Asian, tribal, and we have a long way to go, because right now the United States government is only at 1.67% Black-owned business contracting. Never in history have we put out those figures before. We've always done it in the aggregate. And so we wanted to establish a baseline of transparency. Same thing with Latino-owned. It's only at 1.78% contracting. And
Maybe, can I interject here for a second? Yeah. Let's all sit here and process that for a second, and the wonderful highlights and bullets that Bibi has conveyed to us. The US government, the #1 purchaser in the entire world, and 1.6% of that going to Black-owned businesses, and 1.7 to Latinx, and similar percentages for the underserved, or as we say around here, the underestimated. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone here understands those statistics and the bearing of why we're trying to move the needle with what Bibi is talking about in terms of policy. And before we go on with the wonderful enhancements that's been led by you, Bibi, and your team, just want everybody, in whatever stage of the game you're in, whether you're a startup, whether you're trying to decide, are you certifiable? Or if you're certified and you're still waiting for that first RFP to be realized, if you're certified and had several procurement opportunities and are thinking about 8A, if you are certified through corporate America or municipal, county, state, through the public transportation system, we're talking to you right here. You're all included in this space of opportunity. So Bibi, please continue with those wonderful enhancements that you recently promoted on social media through the SBA site. If you all want to turn back to that as a point of reflection as Bibi goes down these stats. Thank you, Bibi.
Sure. No, I appreciate that, Mark. And, you know, the words of Ron Busby, who's president of the U.S. Black Chambers, are in my ear right now, which he's like 1.67% is 9.6 billion in contracting. Imagine if we were just able to double that. You know, Black-owned firms are 9% of the firms in the United States. Latinx are about 13%. So we need to make sure we continue to work toward more parity, because what it really means is we're missing out on this wealth of talent. That's the way we see it. You know, when minority business leaders, minority leaders hit a glass ceiling, whether it's in corporate America, in nonprofit sector or government, what they end up doing often is starting their own company. So you have some of the top talent in our nation as small business owners. And so it's incumbent upon us to figure out how we can really partner with the talent that exists in these small firms across the country. And that's why we wanted to establish that baseline, so we know where we.
I think, Bibi, we had a brief interruption here. Everybody's hang with us for a second. We're going to try to get Bibi back on. And while she's coming back on, just as a point of reflection, you know, we've talked about several enhancements. You're going to see all those reflected on our SBA social media page. This was a post that was issued by the agency on these improvements that Bibi has led with her team, her wonderful team at GCBD. So once again, Bibi, I think that you are a bit interrupted there, but we're going to transition to the next segment. But I want to assure everyone that you're going to have more information in the follow-up materials by PPSI, and thank you for that, PPSI. And so government contracting, big opportunities, leveling the playing field, advancing equity, being customer first, making sure that we're on the ground assessing with you where your opportunities may lie, whether they're today or whether they're tomorrow. So thank you, Bibi. You are just enormously impactful here at the agency. And thanks again to the GCBD team. Now I'm gonna turn it over to our wonderful moderator, Renee, to introduce our next special guest. Then I'll come back and have a one-on-one conversation about small business digital tools, specifically with PayPal.
Yes, thanks, Mark. We are now going to hear from Paul Disakun, who is the Senior Associate Government Relations for PayPal representative. Paul is a Senior Associate there for PayPal's Global Government Relations team. His primary focus on the team is on the small business advocacy, policy research, and thought leadership. In managing PayPal small business engagement, he engages with government officials, leads partnerships with ecosystem stakeholders, and works directly with entrepreneurs to share their stories, and strives to promote positive policy to encourage an environment that fosters small business growth. Additionally, Paul contributes to global public policy with work including policy research, analysis, and position papers. Prior to joining PayPal, Paul worked as an external consultant for eBay Inc. government relations team. Paul earned his BA from James Madison University and currently lives in Washington, D.C. And without further ado, I would like to introduce him to the Mark Madrid Hour here at the Building Resources SBA PPSI webinar.
Well, thank you, Paul. It is great to see you again, my friend.
It is great to see you as well, Mark. Very excited for the conversation today, and grateful for everybody that has joined, as you said at the top, lending their precious time, as we know, how busy small business owners are.
That's right, small business owners and service providers, resource partners, district offices, SBA team members. A special shout out to the OED team and PayPal, whoever is supporting you, Paul, that's on here. Thank you for your precious time. Just to level set with everybody, we've heard from the White House today, we've heard from Rhett Buttle, and we've also heard from Bibi Hidalgo on government contracting. All these tools will be coming to you in the follow-up email. And now we're talking about digital resources through PayPal. So we're gonna have about a 10-minute segment with Paul. And what I can tell everybody here, pre-COVID, Paul and I were talking about how to better serve small business owners, how to level the playing field, and specifically, Paul, and then COVID happened, right? And we were talking about access to capital pre-COVID. We're talking about access to capital today. Just so that we can be relatable to the audience in terms of what they might be thinking about. What have you heard from PayPal customers about access to capital, specifically during these times, sir?
Well, thanks so much, Mark. And like you said, we've been working on these issues for a number of years. This is nothing new. Access to capital has always been one of the main priorities and one of the main drivers of growth for small businesses, but also one of the biggest barriers to growth for underrepresented and underserved communities that have traditionally struggled to access capital. And what we're hearing from our small business owners is really that as we come out of the pandemic, as we face new pressures, whether it be global crises, supply chain issues, inflationary pressures, it's going to be more important than ever for small businesses to be able to access capital, not only for their own growth, but to be able to manage the financial health of their overall business as they manage unexpected expenses, unexpected delays, and really face the challenges of having to adapt to a new way of doing commerce.
Paul, thank you for that backdrop. And now what the small business owners want to know, and the customers that you have can reinforce this, is what tools do you have right now for them that could help them, with this, ongoing conversation when it's not only access to capital, but access to resources, people, education, and networks. But what specifically do you have at PayPal that could be a helping hand potentially?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, staying on the trend of access to capital, PayPal has, been involved in small business lending for a number of years now, since 2014. And we have two main products that serve small business customers. The first of which is PayPal Working Capital, and the second of which is PayPal Business Loan. The first, PayPal Working Capital, is really structured in a way where, if you are an existing PayPal business owner, we are able to take the history that we have with you as a PayPal customer and use that really to assess your credit worthiness. So not using the traditional methods of credit scores, collateral, those types of things, and really looking at your PayPal history so that we can get a really fair fixed term loan for that small business.
So Paul, I'm going to interject right here. It's more of an intercession, but can you please repeat that for our audience? If we get it, if you're multitasking right now, if you're texting or chatting because you have an urgent fire, I want Paul to repeat that because I think it's very important in terms of the increased flexibility that is offered. So Paul, once again, what you just mentioned here to our small business owners in terms of how they would qualify for this product.
Absolutely. So for PayPal Working Capital, you need to be an existing PayPal business customer, but only for having a PayPal business account for a couple of months. And that way we can see, what the sort of history of your sales are and use that to determine, what your loan may be, not using a FICO score, not using those traditional methods. And then it gets repaid through a percentage of your sales that you select. And that way, there's no sort of, fixed repayment schedule, late fees, unexpected costs, interest. It's just a fixed term repayment through a percentage of your sales.
And Paul, thank you very much. We were talking about this product, the working capital product, for some time. So to see it in fruition and working is something to behold here. And where can folks go to access these resources and to find out more about eligibility?
Yeah, so you can go to paypal.com and go to the sub website for merchants, and there is a full web page for figuring out how to grow your business. And that is really one of the biggest things that we've wanted to do over the last couple of years. Have a dedicated way of being sure that small businesses have that awareness of how we can empower their success through our Business Resource Center, through our partnerships with folks like the SBA on the Small Business Digital Alliance, working in all of these different avenues to be sure that we're getting the information out there, reaching the most extensive network of small business owners possible, to have them reach that full potential that you can reach once you adapt to digital tools. As we've seen commerce going further and further towards that direction over the last couple of years.
Thank you, Paul. And let me say, these topics must be hitting home because we have not lost too many people on this webinar. And so thank you all for sticking with us. We're trying to keep it compact. We're trying to make sure that we reinforce these possibilities for you, these solutions, and a follow-up tool. Because one of my favorite terms, as everybody knows who knows me well, is a toolkit or a checklist. And so these references will be provided to you. Paul, in closing out, can you just share with us one or two success stories of how your products have transformed a small business?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to start with a story that isn't about either of those two products that I mentioned, but about our participation and partnership with the SBA on the Paycheck Protection Program. That was such a critical program of government relief at the height of the pandemic that was really a tremendous example of public-private partnership and how we can come together and quickly create a new program that can really support the smallest of businesses. We were able to loan out more than $3 billion in PPP loans, and the average size of those loans were just $26,000. So we were really reaching the smallest businesses. We talked a little bit about being intentional about inclusion and equity and reaching into some of these underserved communities. And one of the anecdotes that I love to share is that of the 30 counties that have the highest density of Black business activity, PayPal was over-indexed in those counties with PPP loans in 23 out of those 30 counties. The average across all other lenders was just over-indexed in 10 of those 30 counties. So, we were really proud of what we were able to do in partnership with the SBA on that program. And then, the other thing that I'll share is just that, particularly as, like I said, we face new challenges in the economy. There are small businesses that don't look like your traditional small business, are not the traditional Main Street, are not the traditional, in-person brick and mortar store. We have new types of small businesses that need support. One of the things that I think is often overlooked is the blending of your personal finances and your business finances, especially if you're in the gig economy, if you're a freelancer. And we've heard lots of stories about how PayPal Working Capital has particularly benefited those small businesses where it's tough for them to differentiate between their personal finance and their business finance. For us, it's all about creating a more holistic financial health, not only for you as an individual, but for a business owner. That has been something that we've really prioritized and hope to continue to drive home.
Thank you, Paul. Administrator Guzman talks about our small businesses as the giants of our economy. So thank you for contributing toward that. Great to have you on, Paul. Thank you very much. All right, everybody. Well, we're getting through this webinar and it's about resources. We've talked about government contracting and digital resources through PayPal. We've heard about PayPal Working Capital. And now I would like to shift focus into education, because as I've been taught, no one can take your education from you. No one can take your education from you. And that includes education for you all, small business owners. So I'm thrilled to bring on somebody who I know very well because he's on my team and our team, Terry Sutherland, who runs our Office of Entrepreneurship Education. I'm not going to steal your thunder, Terry, but I want you to talk about this wonderful program that we have that you lead, and it's called Thrive, Emerging Leaders Reimagined. And after we have this session with Terry, he's going to go about 4 minutes, audience. Then we're going to have a conversation with an actual small business owner, an alumnus of this particular program that can share her experiences with you. And by the way, you'll get a special introduction from Renee on this wonderful alumnus who is also the Small Business Person of the Year for the state of Nevada. So we're very excited to have her on. But Terry, please share with us the eligibility and more about Thrive.
Hey, thank you so much, Mark. Yeah, as you talked about Thrive, Emerging Leaders Reimagined, it's a new branded program. The program's actually been around since 2008. This year, though, we're giving it a new name, a new flavor. We have a new vendor led by ISOM Global Strategies, and it's creating a lot of buzz. It's a new way of teaching and having our small business owners learn. So we're very excited about it. And, over the years, and I know you'll be talking to alumnus here shortly, we've actually, trained over 5,000 small business owners. It's created 11,000 jobs. It's generated nearly $1 billion in new financing, and it's secured over $4 billion in government contracts. So this program has really, really made a huge impact. So we're excited about it. We're moving forward with it. We're out there recruiting right now. This is a 5 to 6 month program. It's going to start right after the 4th of July. We are in the recruiting phase right now. Technically, it ends next week, May 31st. But if there's some cities that need a little extra time, we're going to do that. We've got 68 cities, and we want at least 20 students in each city. And in order to apply for this, really the eligibility criteria is that you must have a minimum of $250,000 gross revenue. You must have a minimum of 1 employee other than yourself, and you must have a minimum of 3 years in business. So if you meet that criteria, and this is a program that you want to grow your business, across the United States, get into trade, this is the program that you want to be a part of, completely free. And it's funded by the SBA through ISOM Global Strategies, who's our partner in this, and we're excited about it. Like I said, so I encourage people to apply. Okay, great. I'm seeing Shaylee's throwing that up in the chat, the SBAthrive.com, which is great. And also, I can put in the link for SBA.gov to tell you a little bit more about the program. But once again, great program. Small business owners out there, if you want to take it to the next level, this is the program you want to be in.
Thank you, Terry. So you heard it here, an opportunity, an educational opportunity. If you're a CEO, a founder, president of the company, the requirements are at least $250,000 in annual gross revenue. You got to have more than 1 employee besides yourself, and you've got to be in business at least 3 years. So thank you, Terry. Shaylee, our senior advisor, has chatted the application. Terry, thank you for your leadership, and thank you for the team that is on from the Office of Entrepreneurship Education that sits under the Office of Entrepreneurial Development and your efforts in making this happen. Terry, appreciate your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And now we have a special introduction, everyone. We have a special introduction to a peer small business owner. Renee, take it away, and then I'll be back to have this conversation.
Well, we are excited to have the winner of Las Vegas Small Business of the Year, and that is Andrea Vigil, who is an emerging leader. She has a company that is called Eligibility Electric LLC, which was founded in 2015. Andrea is a certified women-owned small business, which is also known as a WOSB, a women business enterprise, a WBE, and a minority business enterprise, MBE, a disadvantaged business enterprise, a DBE, a small business enterprise, an SBE, and Nevada Local Emerging Small Business, which is also known as an ESB firm. She's based in Las Vegas, Nevada, specializing in electrical services, including solar, battery storage, and electrical vehicles, charging stations. Prior to founding her business, Andrea was a chief operating officer at American Patriot Solar Community in Las Vegas, Nevada. She was responsible for overseeing day-to-day operations in Las Vegas, all marketing, advertising marketing, research, analysis, strategy, and planning. Due to the changes with the net metering, American Patriot Solar Community closed, and she and her husband were laid off from work. They decided to obtain a C2 electrical license and open their own company. They started working out of their own home with just Anthony and her. As a result of their net metering, one a day, changes, most of their existing solar companies shut down, and this left thousands of Nevada customers without solar company to service their existing solar systems. So that, of course, is why Andrea was coming to the rescue and saving so many people in the Nevada state. So we are so excited to have her here today with you, Mark.
Thank you, Renee. Andrea, Vihil from Allegiant Electric. Welcome to the virtual stage. It was important that we save the best for last, and I qualify best in terms of being a small business owner who we serve. Andrea, what a heartfelt and a story of resilience. You're the embodiment of that. Welcome. And I just one more thing before we get started here. Andrea, as the Nevada State Small Business of the Year, was visited yesterday by the Administrator Guzman herself. Congratulations. Welcome. And can you
Thank you
just
so much.
share with us a little bit more about that experience with the administrator visiting you yesterday, Andrea?
Oh, absolutely. We are so excited and we are so blessed to have her and her team come out to our office. I mean, this is something that, we never even imagined. And we are just so excited and honored to have her out here, coming and talking to us and listening to our story. This is just something that we really, really appreciate.
Why are you the state of Nevada Small Business Person of the Year?
My husband and I started our business out of our house. We were resilient with regards to, everything with the net metering rules. And when we lost our job, and so basically started our own company. Once we started our own company out of our house, we just continued to grow. And I feel that there was a niche market once all of the solar companies basically shut down. And that gave us an opportunity to go out there and service companies that no longer had a solar company available for them to provide their solar maintenance and repair. So that just really opened up a lot of doors for us. And we just continued to grow and basically diversify our business to ensure that if we came up with another, situation or ruling that came down, that we would be able to survive the next, the next event, which then COVID came along. And fortunately for us, as COVID hit and a lot of the businesses, stores shut down, then we had homes, people didn't want you in their homes. That was a big part of our business. So we had to pivot again. So now you have homeowners that are trying to do home repairs. And so then we started fixing all the things they were trying to repair themselves. And we also they started looking at their electric bills. So they started calling us again back to my solar maintenance and repair to go back out there. And fortunately for us, we had just completed the Emerging Leaders program prior to COVID. So I had all my financials in place when it came time for me to apply for the PPP loans, because that was essential. And especially my SBA team here in Las Vegas, they are part of everything. Saul, Christina, and Barry answered the phone during COVID when I was like, what do I do? Where do I apply? I've applied and they're not answering. Where do I go? And they're answering the phone. Andrea, they got on the website, helping me, navigate through. And as, the funding came in, things started, opening back up and we're shifting. Then now we're getting more work. And so now we need to hire more people. And so then we need to get more vehicles. So all of this came during the perfect time. And, we're just so fortunate and happy that, you guys are made these type of programs available for people like us, because we've really thrived and it has given us a lot of opportunities to continue the growth. We've already outgrown our office. And now, we would like to see what we need to do to obtain financing, to find a piece of property so that we could actually, expand our business. And we are very excited today. Yesterday, we started another project, an EV charging station with Tesla. And so that's 20 dual port EV charging stations that we just started. And we're very excited for that. We just partnered with Toll Brothers, which is another home builder. So we're excited to, get that project started. And, we partner with different schools too, as well, to try to make sure that the technicians are getting the training that they need. And we could offer on-the-job training opportunities for people as well.
Thank you, Andrea. I mean, did you hear all that? I did, and I'm sure you did as well, but there was a lot of layers behind what Andrea was talking about. There's strength and vulnerability. She was talking about vulnerable moments with her family. She was talking about how she, opened her business in the startup phase, also talking about the pivots, including during COVID. And Andrea, you shared once again, for our audience, you are an alumnus of our Thrive program, which is now Emerging Leaders Reimagined. So thank you to all those who helped out, Rise and others on the former versions of this program. And as well, a shout out to the Las Vegas district office, the Nevada district office, and our 68 district offices. So the education has prepared you for this pivot. Was there anything specifically? I'd like to, we have about 4 minutes left, but what did you learn from your peers, the other ones in the classroom with you? Because I'm sure that also, there's nothing like small business owners learning from other small business owners. Was that the case in your cohort?
Honestly, we still do business with each other. So, we call each other. We called during COVID, and we were like, what do we do? What are you doing? How can we help each other? Started making sure we were going and, seeing how we could refer work back and forth, how we could share our databases, and, just basically see what we could do to assist each other during, that time. And also I'm part of the WeBank West as a vice chair. And so Anna has been so instrumental in everything. She's helped me. I asked her, Anna, what certifications should I get when I first started? And she said, all of them. So I've gotten all of them, and I'm looking to apply for my HubZone certification. At some point, I will apply for the 8A. I'm just not quite there yet, but I'm looking for a property that I would like to be and stay in the HubZone to ensure that I do have those opportunities to get those government contracts as well.
Thank you. So there you heard it from Andrea. I mean, she was paying attention earlier to what Bibi was talking about. And although she's achieved so much, she's still looking for that next level. I'd like to close with you on something, because I've known you several years as also a graduate of the Stanford Latino Entrepreneurship Initiative Education Scaling Program out of Stanford. You've always been one that no matter what was happening, no matter what you had on your plate, that you went for that educational moment. And one of the reasons that I've learned that from you is because you talk about the future of your company and the future of your family. And so can you tell us a little bit about your daughter and what she means to this whole operation?
Oh, Aaliyah, her picture's right behind me, but she went to her principal trying to get us work. She kept giving her business cards, and the principal asked me, I'm not sure why she keeps giving me business cards. I'll see what I could do to try to get you some work. And I said, well, your lights, you need to fix the lights in the bathroom. And so she wants you to hire us to fix the lights. We ended up doing some in-kind donation for her school and for the church for their fall festival. So Aaliyah, when you walk in the door, she'll give you her card if she's here. I mean, she was here during COVID because at that time she needed, to basically do her schooling online. And she is a Legion Electric, this little girl. If you see her, she will give you her card and make sure you know that she's the owner, and her name says on there, owner. And so she was so excited to meet everybody, and the kids at school didn't believe her. So she took a picture and made sure that she shared it with everybody, and she's so proud and so excited.
There you have it. Friends, like I said, it's the highest honor imaginable serving small business owners. But when you actually know small business owners and who you're serving, know them from the ground, you know about stories like this. And so this is just one of many that you have. Andrea, thank you so much. We're so proud of you. And I will someday be approaching your daughter with my resume. So there you go. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. Be ready for it, because she has employees on roadblocks, and she said, Mama, they're not working. So she's training, making sure she takes care of her employees though. But thank you guys so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it so
Congratulations and good luck on the rest of the day, your big day that you have planned. And so friends, we've talked about government contracting, we've talked about PayPal resources, we've talked about education, and now I want to turn it over to Renee. But before that, I just want to take a moment of, if you will, silence for the Uvalde victims in Uvalde, Texas, a place I know very well. I lost my dad to COVID-19, but he did some jobs there in Uvalde as a small community. And so I'd just like to make sure that I offer my sentiments and love and appreciation for everyone that's working toward that community and that recovery that's going to be very, very difficult. Our hearts and prayers. Renee, back to you, and thank you all for joining us.
Thank you so much, Mark. And with that, we are so excited about all of our amazing speakers today, from Bharat to Mark, and all the amazing one-on-one conversations he had with Paul, with Terry, with Andrea, with Bibi, and so many amazing resources that all of them shared with us today. With that, I know we are at time, so we are going to actually make sure that you guys get a copy of this presentation today, both the video of Mark and all of these amazing conversations and the one-on-one from Bharat and Rhett into those resources, but also the additional resources that are from family paid leave and also about being a COVID leader in your community as business owners. And so that will be in an email that you all will receive tomorrow. So we're excited about that. And don't worry, there's going to be more webinars. So the next one is going to take place in 2 weeks, as this is a bi-weekly series. So there's more to come and more webinars and more resources for you. And with that, we thank you so much for joining us today. And we will see you on our next webinar. Thanks so much.